A battle tested marketer, trying very hard to be a writer and philosopher. What we said was when I'm going from a school to college or college to my first job, my life becomes my life undergoes a step change. And generally, these are the phases where we even build new habits. Unfortunately, smoking, but also drinking or, romancing. And so all these new habits start getting created as we start getting older. Could coffee be a new habit which could signal adulthood? A brand has to constantly be differentiating and building trust. It just boils down to that. And the insight into soft drinks is when young teenage men start drinking a soft drink more, it grows more. And it's very logical because men are on the road more in the summer. My favorite childhood memory is the whole family in Kasoli. It's a chilly evening. We are having hot sweet corn soup, piping hot, with piping hot spring rolls.
Hello, fellows. Welcome to the next episode of Jagged with Jasravee. Subscribe to my channel for conversations at the edge with thought leaders from the branding, marketing, and the business world. Conversations that will ignite new ideas with rough and sharp edges. Hello, Rashi. Thrilled
Hi,
to have you on my
Jasravee.
show.
Thanks for having me.
Okay. So, if I requested you to tweet your profile on for X,
On X.
might as well have an X factor. Okay, what will it be?
I think it will be a battle tested marketer, trying very hard to be a writer and philosopher.
So apt. So apt. So, marketer, writer, philosopher, and my audience will get a glimpse of all of this because it's all feeding into each other, as is very, very clear from your blog. Rashi, where shall we begin? Let's begin. You were working with Amazon, and
Yes.
before that, it's always been FMCG brands.
Yes. Yes.
So, what was the difference, Rashi? Is working with a technology brand the same as working with an FMCG brand? Because, yeah, typically we would look at the relationship a category has with the consumer and look at that. But is there a fundamental difference in how a marketer would approach
Yes.
looking at marketing? So
Yes.
how would that be? How was your journey?
So I think the fundamentals of brand building do not change between a tech company and an FMCG company. That was my first learning. But the how changes, and the impact a marketer can have in FMCG versus a tech company changes. So the biggest difference is that in FMCG, the marketer owns the product, right? So in an FMCG, a marketer actually works closely with R&D to create the next innovation or to tweak the current product. And products compared to a tech product are much simpler, right? Your levers are ingredients, flavors, fragrances, packaging, and then you market them. And frankly, all that is marketing, right? How you design the product is marketing. And so the marketer is more in control, has end-to-end control over there. And because that industry is more evolved in India, you could argue that the marketing over there is more sophisticated, right? So these are the brands that are possibly, running more purposeful activities, as we will see with Ask Nestle later that we'll discuss, and so on. So the thinking there, I thought, is more sophisticated and more end to end. Having said that, if you're working for a tech brand, then the marketer purely does not own the product because the product is highly technical and there is a whole department of software engineers and product marketers that own the product. So the marketeer's job over there is to market the product, do uh, top, middle, and bottom funnel marketing, and get more traffic in, get conversions in. So it becomes a pure demand generation function, whereas an end-to-end ownership function. Because countries like India are still adopting tech, you know. So if let's say, and I'm making the numbers up, if 500 million Indians are using FMCG products, maybe only 150 million Indians are using a tech product. So the large task is to drive penetration through education, because the next 150 million Indians are possibly not English speaking, not literate, not very trustful of technology, and that's where how you do marketing changes. It's more educational, and therefore more hardworking. And not to say that FMCG is not hardworking, but you don't have to explain the FMCG product to the consumer. I think those are the big differences.
I really liked how you were explaining when we were having a discussion earlier also, Rashi. You said that how much time a consumer spends with the product is a big clue as to how complicated the product is, how many layers the consumer has to unravel and understand. And therein, the marketer has to help
Yes.
understand.
So, when you really look at it, you use a shampoo maybe once a week. And once you know how to use a shampoo, it's rather simple. So, wherever products are simple, the role of the brand and marketing increases, right? Because the surface area of the consumer's thought process and involvement in the brand becomes more emotional. So, I may wash my hair twice a week, but the weight I put on the shampoo to make my hair behave and even make me look beautiful is a lot more, right? In a tech product, you may be spending hours on it, right? So we spend, we use Google search maybe 50 times a day. We are on the internet probably all the time, right? So wherever we are using the product more deeply, and we are exploring and learning about the product ourselves or through communities, that becomes the brand, right? And therefore the emotion in the shampoo versus the tech product, there is emotion in both. So I'm not sure that there is a black and white area, because we are emotional beings. Everything we do involves some emotion, even if we don't realize it. So if I'm using a Microsoft Office, my emotion probably there is of reassurance, perfection, performance, winning. And like I said, with my shampoo, maybe my emotion is about looking beautiful and being admired. Both are emotions. So I think the tech consumer marketing is not bereft of emotion. And that is probably a myth that that some marketeers may be living with, and saying that if an advertising for a tech product is interesting or emotional, then it's not a good ad, uh, right? So the type of emotion changes. So when I buy something from Amazon, and and I know we've all felt it, when the packet comes home, we feel excitement, right? And we feel excitement because things change the way we live, right? So I may be a lazy couch potato, but if I buy a treadmill, or if I buy new running shoes, maybe for a few days I will become a runner. That's the power of things, and that's a powerful emotion. But I think tech marketers need to start investigating this more, and bringing that out more in their marketing.
Yeah, and even if perhaps you could do this parallel education and building a relationship of appreciating in terms of the role that the category is playing or the potential it has to play in the consumer's life.
Yes, the other thing I've learned is that when I mentioned education, it's not so much about how to use the product, but it's really reminding people that, listen, this product is there for making your life better, right? And consumers have they can learn, they self learn tech products very very quickly. But really, for a new brand, albeit a tech brand, the role is to build trust and to show how we are different. So, branding in whatever industry we are in, even if it's B2B, is about building trust
Yeah.
and showing why you should buy from us, how we are different,
Mm.
right? So, I think that's the education that is involved.
So establishing relevance and credibility in a
Yes,
way, because it's a category that is trying to like find
find
more
its
space in
feet.
the
Yeah,
consumer's life.
find a more basic.
So let's go to the other brands, since we have the advantage of Rashi, who's worked on very, very different categories, very, very deeply, very, very innovative things that have been done. Okay, so ask Nestle. Let's start at the beginning. How did you get the idea? And how did you make sure that you made it such a big force for a company which was essentially product centric? There must have been a lot of building a foundation for something like this. How did you go about it?
So, Nestle is a company that always has invested in building a corporate brand. And so when I joined the company, the responsibility of the next wave of corporate branding fell upon my shoulders. And really, before I launch into the story, it was really a huge team effort, and the entire company sort of supported this initiative. But really, I think we connected two, three very simple dots to arrive at this idea of Ask Nestle. The first point was that we did not want to be a corporate brand or own a purpose where we were just talking. We wanted to walk the talk, right? The second was we are a food company. It's a nutrition company, right? The tagline of Nestle corporate is good food, good life. And what the corporate brand that we had been doing was all talk, right? There was some ads made on girl child education. They didn't really tie back to the purpose of good food, good life. um, and so we said we have to walk the talk, we have to be about nutrition and good food, which leads to a good life. Our core consumer is the mom, right? Not the girl child, but mom for children. And as we started going deeper into what consumers think, do, behave, feel about food, we realized that growing up kids and feeding them nutritious food is a national obsession. Every mother went to sleep planning her next day's meal. She woke up thinking of what she will cook and what she will buy. In fact, most of the basket filling happens at night in big basket and groceries and all, when they're sitting and planning the next day's cooking. And so we said we've got to, so that's a national obsession, but knowledge is rare. So there is huge knowledge asymmetry on nutrition. When you Google, when you read a science article, you speak to your mother-in-law or you speak to your friends, one day people say ghee is good, then they say olive oil is good, then they say egg yolk is good, then they say no, whole yolk is good, whole egg is good. So there is a huge level of complexity and complication. The minute we got these 3 4 dots, we connected them and we said we have to create a digital service brand called Ask Nestle, which helps mothers create nutrition plans for their kids, right? Because we had the knowledge, we have nutritionists, we understand nutrition, and at the same time, it has to be personalized to a woman. So if I'm living in West Bengal and we are fish eaters, I need a meal plan which has fish twice a day. If I'm in South India, I need sambar and dosa twice a day, right? If I'm in North and so on. So we created personalized nutrition plans. You can feed your child's height, weight, age, etc. And according to that, the calorific intake he or she needs, we gave scientifically designed plans. And of course, then we created many other sort of tools that a mom can use. There was a growth tracker. There was she could feed in what's there in her refrigerator, and a nutritious recipe would bounce out of the website. There were, I forget now, but I think there were 5,000 recipes we created. So we really wanted to become a one-stop shop that helped moms feed their kids good food. And this became India's first food tech service brand. So that was the thinking.
So, corporate brand, walking the talk, and it has to be centered around nutrition. And then you went with, what is the value? Am I going to my main TG?
Yes.
Now you went all for it.
Yes.
Whatever was the need, whether it was making it regional, whether it was innovating, whether it was recipes, you went all out to be of real value for the consumer. What were the key challenges, Rashi, for having a service like this, which was like, I mean, it literally took birth while you were there, and then you had to sustain it, grow it, and for making it a credible benchmark of sorts. What were the key challenges, and how did you tackle them?
So in such tasks, and especially the minute you get into digital marketing, the biggest challenge becomes content creation. So building a content machinery at low cost, which is also nutritionally and scientifically correct, which is vetted by all the experts, was really the task. And it took us some time to get that right. And second, as an FMCG company, getting the right tech to support it was the second big challenge. So we knew if we got the right tech partners, if we got the right content partners, we would make it big. So finding the right partners and then getting the entire toolkit, entire content machinery to be accurate, legally, nutritionally, and for the mom was the biggest challenge. But it was not insurmountable. And that's why we were able to make it work. And during COVID, I think our visits really went up. And the goal was to create a community of moms who would speak to each other, help each other out. So, and that's really what we started out to do.
I don't know, like, I'm just trying to get deeper into this.
Okay.
Sustaining a community, having content that people are really devouring, using for something like food. I'm saying, like, people are looking for recipes all the time, but mostly it's around taste as well. So, I mean,
Yes.
of course, taste is also very important. You'll go to a Tarla Dalal, maybe less Nestle. So, how did you make yourself a preferred place for regular moms to keep coming? Because that was the one question that was coming to me. Because taste is very important. Of course, nutrition is equally important in the initial years, where the mom is obsessing more, perhaps. And sustaining a community, again, such a big challenge that they really, And
Yes.
the other thing was it giving you any insights for further innovation? Were there any surprising insights about how you felt that Nestle needs to interact with mothers? Because communication is one thing which you just do when you're out, but here, like, this is so active, palpable kind of a connection you build with consumers when you're doing content and having a community. So, anything you want to share there?
So this was not. So we spent a lot of our money in getting the content made and getting the technology going, and we wanted this to be an organic growth platform. So in the first year, we did some advertising. We got Times of India front page ads, I think 4 to 5 weeks in a row. We did a TV campaign which introduced Ask Nestle, but we ran the campaign on YouTube only. And through that, a lot of moms discovered Ask Nestle. And once they discovered it, they started coming back. Now, even kids don't eat anything they don't find tasty, right? So when we say we put in nutritious recipes, we put in tasty, nutritious recipes. But we for example, recommended a millet dosa, which is probably slightly, it's a different kind of nutrition than a rice dosa. And so, and this was probably one of the few websites which gave the nutritional um, sort of under chassis of every meal. So a mother can go to a Tarla Dalal and get the recipe, and she must. But she can also come to Ask Nestle and find out what is the nutrition chassis of the meal she's feeding her child. And that kind of service helped build a certain customer base of deep engagement. We were not looking for scale. We were looking for maybe 10 to 20 million moms to come and become engaged users. We did not really get the community work started because we were still, building the content and scaling it. So we need more tech to get a community going where people can come in and chat with each other. Maybe WhatsApp functionality would help that. So I don't think we were able to build a robust community, but we did create a customer journey. So Nestle also has a very strong CRM team. And what we did, and the CRM team used to always get nutrition related questions from moms anyway. And what we started doing was we started building a customer journey from there to Ask Nestle. And we said that, if she came for a question, we said, we have, 5 articles on this. I'm sending you the link. Why don't you go to Ask Nestle and try it? So it was probably a expertise consultation, a human consultation. But were we able to create a community where moms are talking to each other? No.
Deep engagement was the agenda with a certain kind of mom profile.
Yes.
And everything that they require was part of the thinking. So, Rashi, now we're still at Nestle.
Mhm.
And would you like to talk about coffee? We are getting to the coffee time as well. So, Nescafe Classic. So, at that point in time, when you were handling the brand, what were the key challenges? Because I've worked with you, and it started from research. And I know how you make sure that you ensure unconventional research, and you're very creative about the data collected and what else it can mean. I mean, I've witnessed it firsthand. You are my client. The most creative HUL client I've ever had the honor of working with.
Thank you.
So, the Nescafe Classic, at that point in time, the category challenge, how did you unearth the lever to come up with a campaign that we are also going to talk about?
This was a category building problem. So we are tea drinkers in North and West, and we don't really know coffee that much, right? Indians don't. It's not the top of mind drinks, and all these cafes that have opened our eyes to coffee, and coffee became a social drink. So the task was how to get coffee into people's homes, how to make it a habit, how and what I said was that there are 3 times in our lives, 3 rites of passage when we change brands. One, when we start our first job, when we first get married, and hopefully we have only one marriage, and when we have a child, right? So these are the 3 times when we really change our life completely and change our brands. So I said, what could be a rite of passage that we could anchor coffee on, right? And what we said was, when I'm going from a school to college or college to my first job, my life becomes very, very, my life undergoes a step change. And generally, these are the phases where we even build new habits. Unfortunately, smoking, but also drinking, or, romancing. And so all these new habits start getting created as we start getting older. Could coffee be a new habit which could signal adulthood? And this is a cultural, this is infusing coffee into culture and into a rite of passage that will keep happening whether coffee is there or not. But we need to infuse it there because coffee is a mental stimulant. We know that when we look at the history of coffee. So that's when we said that, as when you are getting into your first job or first college, everything you do has greater consequences. You need rocket fuel and you need strong coffee. So you better start drinking coffee. And then, of course, the agency does their magic, and the agency planners helped really chisel the brief. So anything we do is never an individual effort. There's always a village. And that's how Badal Raif Ki Raftar was born. And we also accompanied it with a product film where we taught Indians how to make coffee. And that's the education part, right, which I mentioned on tech. So if tech consumer brands are underpenetrated, when you look at coffee, it's underpenetrated, right? So while we intuitively may know how to make tea, not all of us know how to make coffee. Therefore, as the market leader, that was the second leg of the campaign, to teach people how to make coffee.
So, rite of passage, adulthood, and this akin to taking decisions, because that is what adulthood is about. And
Yes.
I've seen the campaign. It's like, I'm going to choose my college. The parent is not happy about it. But then there's a whole negotiation going on. It's like, okay, fine. Now let's have coffee and talk like adults. This is very, very interesting to Badal Life Ki Raftar, and a coffee trying to own it, because that's what that life stage is about.
Yes.
That pace is changing.
And that life stage pushes you into situations where you have a beverage, right? In college. So we don't have beverage breaks in school because we have a regimented day. But the minute you get into college, your life is not regimented. People are hanging around in canteens drinking stuff. Coffee had better be one of the things available for them to drink, right?
Yeah. The other interesting thing that you said was educating people about making coffee.
Yes.
Which is very interesting, and how it's taught. So how did this understanding come, that, because I'll tell you where it's coming from, because I've worked on Tang for some time, and the whole thing was that people have stopped buying these powdered beverages because this one, it's effort. Second, is the standardized making is not happening, so the taste is different every time, and they don't want to get into this. So the whole education did actually start happening, and they then, of course, the other thing that marketers in this case do is that have a pet bottle with already made as well. So a standard taste benchmark is getting created on the palate. So how did this understanding and usage happen, that coffee also we have to teach people how to make?
It came out of consumer research, right? And
Right.
that was the power of the research that the PNL head and the Nestle research team had done. But the ad that you remembered, in that ad, the dad learns that the son has gotten into a college, and he says, as a way of endorsing the son's choice, he says, "Thoda pani, thodi coffee, thodi chini, thoda garam pani, आदत डाल लो." Then the child says, "Strong है, आदत डाल लो, जरूरत पड़ेगी." That's all. So in food,
Yeah.
no two houses cook dal, coffee, tea, anything the same way. All we can do is tell them, these are the ingredients that go into it. Now, whether you want it strong or light, you want to add milk or not, that's your choice.
Mm.
All we say is, when you make coffee, it needs hot water, sugar, and coffee at the minimum. And that's what we did.
Interesting. Okay. So, Rashi, now we move from Nestle and Nescafe and hot beverages, and
Yeah.
we're going to be women for a while. But we'll talk about Lakme.
Yes.
Lakme was a brand up there in terms of, iconic campaigns, the products that it brought. It was like, pride of India, but, it was not massy,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then, of course, over a period of time, international brands come in and the stuff that every Indian brand has gone through. Now, aspiration, innovation, and you got to match every aspect that the consumer sees value in. This is what I have as a consumer, you could say, been a witness to. And of course, now there are Lakme salons, the delivery arm of the products, as well as other services. So I loved when you said that Lakme was always the bridesmaid, never the bride. So, with that challenge, when you came on board,
Mm-hmm.
what was it primary in your mind that you and your team decided to change, and how did you go about it? When was this, if you could situate it also for our audiences, just for a context?
This was 2001. And maybe 1.5 years ago, Unilever had purchased Lakme from the Tatas. And I was part of Lakme skincare. And I said that skincare was always the bridesmaid, never the bride, because Lakme Color Cosmetics was much larger than skincare. And so the Lakme business had a separate sales team, specialty division that knew how to sell color cosmetics, and they focused a lot on selling that. And that's why I said, always the bridesmaid, never the bride. And we needed to really turn around the brand, because it was second fiddle to color cosmetics, which was more fun, more glamorous. And at that time, like you said, Western brands had come into India, and Lakme Skin, was losing relevance very fast. So it was my favorite stint, one of my favorite stints. And what we did was, first we got the fundamentals right. Right? No brand in FMCG can grow big if the sales team does not sell it, if the beauty advisors don't know how to sell it. So the first job was to get the basics right. So training beauty advisors on the product, helping them learn the skincare, helping them learn how to sell it, getting beauty advisor incentives in place, um, you know, starting a relationship with all the sales heads on skincare. Then second was making it visible. So in those days, grocery also was very, very crowded. And so the second step was making the brand visible. So we created a merchandising kit which made the brand look good. We trained the sales team in merchandising skincare, because they knew how to merchandise and position color cosmetics, which has its own stands, but skincare had no stands. So
Hmm.
how do you display skincare on the shelves? So I think that itself must have been 40 to 50% of the job of turnaround. And then the second part was, as you know, skincare and beauty is all about product innovation. How do you get many, many, many products going? Because, we like to we like to experiment, and we like new flavors, and we like new fragrances. So getting an innovation range going. So we launched a strawberry silk scrub. We launched a strawberry silk creme. We launched many, many new innovations. So that refreshed the brand, made it look prestige. We changed the packaging. And third was communication, because, like I mentioned earlier, that if shampoo is a simple product, the emotion quotient is very high. Same in skincare. And the insight that the color cosmetics team came up with on what Lakme stands for is seductive beauty. And therefore around that we made some beautiful communication which again built relevance of the brand. So I think the brand just needed some attention and a little bit of love, and just getting the fundamentals right: merchandising, incentive and training, new products, and new communication. That was the formula. Simple.
Any favorite product that you launched at that time that you really enjoyed?
Oh, all of them were magnificent. Uh, but we launched a limited edition range called ICs. And we took inspiration from Japanese skincare. At that time, Korean skincare was not big, but Japanese skincare was still very loved. And we took inspiration from Shiseido and all of those brands, and we launched a highly packaged, highly designed skincare. So we launched a icy cool gel for, because in the summer when you moisturize your face you sweat. So this was a gel based moisturizer with the Davidoff cool water fragrance. So we used fine fragrances. We launched a body avocado body butter, and we launched shimmer moisturizers. So it was one of the first innovations that merged makeup and moisturizing. And today you see BBCC creams everywhere. So some very cutting edge range of products, and I thoroughly enjoyed working on that.
I think I remember, wasn't there an entire range, the gel
Yes.
for oily skin that it felt so right and so nice,
Mm.
because creams typically oily skin would also, that was very, very highly innovative. And yeah, bringing the, from the equity of Lakme, the makeup elements into
Skincare.
skincare at that time, that's awesome. Okay, so beauty bhi ho gaya, coffee bhi pी लिया. Oh, close-up किया क्या? Let's
Yeah.
quickly go through that campaign also, because I think that was also a very, very creative, talked about campaign in those times.
Yes.
Uh, we didn't know HUL could do, something so disruptive in terms of creativity. I mean, you know what I'm saying. So I mean, if there's a set process and there's a set and highly researched and checklisted process, sometimes it's difficult to do something which is so creative and like the I'm talking about that कि आप close up करते हैं,
Yeah.
the sound, the tone, the way it got presented, everything was so different from the way the category was going about, and from the way the kind of communication that HUL would do for its FMCG products. So, what would you like to share about that campaign? क्या आप close up करते हैं? What was the challenge you were facing, and how did you go about it?
Sure. So Closeup at that time, and this was 2002, 2003, was also a 30-year-old brand. In fact, Closeup was born the year I was born. And Closeup has been a disruptor from day one. So when all toothpastes were white and chalk based, Closeup was the first gel and colorful toothpaste of the world, and of course India. Right? And over time, what had happened was, and this happens, I think, to all legacy brands, is that newcomers come in and they change the narrative of the category. Then the legacy brand has to keep up. So Colgate was always known for strong teeth. Pepsodent came in with a strong germy check conversation, and children eat sweets, therefore they need Pepsodent to kill those germs, and that was very powerful. So somehow the narrative changed to that, and Closeup started being doubted by consumers to say, but does this give me strong teeth, does this give me functionality? So our share had started declining. So while we were working on correcting the product and figuring out what we want to do with it, and you're right, we broke the processes, and the credit goes to my boss and his boss, who took the charge on this, and they just called Piyush Pandey and said, "Help us, tell us what we should do." And it's really this, these creative heads have insight into culture, into human psyche that us mere mortals don't. And Ogilvy's team, Pushpi and Sagar, came up with this "Kya aap close up karte hain" campaign. And sometimes all a brand manager needs to do is not come in the way with the rational brain. And I think that's all I did. So I didn't jinx it. I wasn't a speed bump. It broke category codes, but then that's the close up way. So we went back to our roots of fresh breath, white teeth, close up confidence. And it was why that campaign worked so well was because it was true for the brand. It called out the equity that not everyone is looking for germ kill. Some that there is a segmentation logic in the market. Some people are looking for fresh breath, white teeth, confidence, and they are younger and they are
And
optimistic. They see the glass half full, and for those people, we have close up, right? And that's why it worked so well. And of course, after that, we relaunched the product. We did another disruptive thing where we are the first brand that went for a metallic tube. We are the first brand that changed the cap of the tube, so of toothpaste. So the caps that you get today are those big shaving cream caps, and Closeup was the first brand that went into that. So a brand has to constantly be differentiating and building trust. It just boils down to that, right?
yeah,
So, so that was the Closeup story.
yeah, awesome. Okay, so Sprite, another different category now.
Yes. So let's talk about Sprite. So Sprite was growing organically, and this was an era. This was 2007, right after the pesticide crisis. So all the clear soft drinks were growing fast. The clear, the orange ones were growing automatically because consumers will drink a soft drink in the summer. It's just that they started picking the non-black ones. It was growing. And the insight into soft drinks is when young teenage men start drinking a soft drink more, it grows more. And it's very logical because men are on the road more in the summer, right? They are and they need a refreshing beverage to quench their thirst and to be a pause on a hot day. And that's really the critical mass of soft drink glass bottles, which is really where the business grows. So Sprite was already a loved brand amongst men and boys. And when you see the advertising historically and you see the brand Sprite, it was being built for it's a masculine brand versus a Fanta or a Limca, which feel like feminine brands, right? So what we needed to do was we needed to really pull Sprite into a leadership position. Our advertising was doing really well. We were doing a good job, but how do you get people to buy more? So in the soft drink industry, every summer, and this is the way marketing is done, there are under the crown promotions. So when you buy a glass bottle, there is a crown, and under the crown you remove the plastic, and there is a scheme, there is a prize. And this is the consumer promotion, like Lux does 4+1 free forever, right? This is the way soft drink marketing is done. So we needed to give a consumer promotion that was on brand Sprite and loved by young men. And so again, this was not my idea, but somebody in Coke gave us this idea. The integrated marketing head gave us this idea where he said that, look, 98% of mobile phones at that time in India had prepaid connections. And if you remember, this was the time when data was still expensive. So the young men and young girls were obsessed with prepaid data, talk time, right? My talk time is over. Wait, let me buy 10 rupees worth talk time. So we were the first consumer promotion that gave talk time free under the crown. And that just took off. So you're paying 10 to 12 rupees to buy a Sprite bottle, but you're also if you're lucky, you may get 10 to 15 rupee worth talk time. And that just took off and helped the brand grow even faster than what it was.
Mm. Yeah, you made me remind about the time, the talk time,
Yeah,
the talk
talk
time.
time.
Even chemists were selling talk time. You know, at
Talk
that
time,
point
yeah,
in time, everybody
absolutely.
was selling talk time. Yeah, it was an obsession.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, alternate profession could have been
A psychiatrist.
mother's best advice.
Just be happy.
Uh, what would you do on Mars for fun?
Try and breathe.
As per your best friend, your most often used phrase,
Uh,
let's take that. Okay, it was a demonstration. Nice. Okay, a book you'd like to gift to all your friends.
a book called Kakold by Kiran Nagarkar. I've read it twice, and I think I'm going to read it a third time now.
Wow.
I love it.
I'll come back to it in terms of what it is that
Hmm.
you like so much about it. Okay, what's something new happening in your life right now?
Oh, I've started my own consulting business and I'm learning the ropes as I go along. That's what's new.
Okay, what's your favorite childhood memory?
My favorite childhood memory is the whole family in Kasoli. It's a chilly evening. We are having hot sweet corn soup, piping hot, with piping hot spring rolls.
Oh, you took us there. Okay, if you were to devote the rest of your life to philanthropy, what cause would you choose?
I think two. One is definitely education for youngsters, and second is something for women. Uh, to remove misogyny.
Awesome. Okay, what's your greatest joy?
Oh, my greatest joy is a book and solitude.
Philosopher. We started there.
Yeah,
What's a lesson that took you a long time to learn?
this too shall pass.
What is one missed opportunity that you wish could have a second chance at?
I think I quit Unilever too soon. I think that was a missed opportunity.
Now, if I request you to share any online addresses, emails, so people know how they can reach you, it'll be part
Mhm.
of the show notes as well.
Sure. So I write a regular newsletter on performonks.substack.com. So it's PERFO.
RMONKS.
Thank you for that. Performonks.substack.com. There's also a website, performonks.com. And so you can reach me there. You can send me a message on LinkedIn, or you could send me a DM on Instagram. I'm there as Performance Rashi. Very happy to get in touch with you. I've started listening to Jagged with Jasravee, and what I really like is the focus on marketing learning and bringing alive the academic and practical concepts for the listeners. And I think this is a very unique space in marketing podcasts in India. So I highly recommend that you listen to it because I've started listening to it myself. Thank you.
Yay. Okay. Thank you so much, Rashi. It was really a privilege to have you. And we've been talking about it since some time, and I'm glad it happened.
Thank you for having me. I enjoyed it.